Hello and welcome to this last chapter of the product goals tutorial. I'm going to try and give you a recipe, a process to follow to put all of this into action. However, please change this process to fit your needs and your circumstances. This is an example for you to change, not a process for you to follow religiously. Truth is, I can't give you a process that will work every time. So much depends on what's come before and the circumstances you're in. If you want to talk to me about it and what might work for you, please by all means get in touch. My focus, as it has been throughout this tutorial, is on the long-term product goals. Remember that within these there are the shorter term OKR cycles, which are typically 3 months, and below that the classic 2-week iterations you know and love from Scrum or your chosen method. The chances are you're in the middle of this. You're in the middle of a sprint, you're in the middle of an OKR cycle. It may be your priority is setting your objectives for the coming quarter, in which case you might want to postpone the long-term product goals for a few days until you've got the next quarter sorted out, but don't postpone them too long. When you've got a product goal, you've got something to guide all your other decision making. That's why it's so important. If you don't have one yet, and you need to set objectives for the coming quarter, then let's just accept it, get it done and move on. When you've got time next week, we can double back and get to work on the product goal. In what I'm about to say about the product goal setting process, there are 3 principles. One is that a partial product goal is better than no product goal. And in writing a product goal, or in attempting to write a product goal, you will flush out some of the work you need to do in order to set a good, long-lasting product goal. Second, always get feedback and work to incorporate the feedback. Remember that since you own the product goal, or your product manager or someone you're working with owns the product goal, you may always choose to ignore the feedback. You may take the feedback and you may in some cases want to say, the person who said this has a different product in mind. The product we are trying to create is something different. Therefore, we need to make that explicit that we're not creating the thing they want. We're creating something we think is better. Third, you are working iterations. This means you're going around in circles, which means there's always a chance to revisit your product goal, revisit your research, revisit almost anything. If you do end up doing things a little bit out of order, it's okay, because you're going to come this way again and you get to fix it up. So let me go through my 6 or maybe 7-step example process for you. Step 1, start with Moore's template. Fill in what you already know or you've already decided. Put in placeholders, to-do statements where you don't know. Maybe you want to do a little more specific research about something, in which case put in a to-do statement, put in a to-do research or to-do decision so that you know what you need to do. If you have doubts about your answers, then put a question mark by them. And the more question marks, the more doubts you have. Sometimes having that placeholder with a question mark be revisited can be useful, particularly when getting feedback. Remember that your initial product goal is better than what you had before, because before you had nothing. If you need to, you can force it into service, but hopefully you've got time to do some of those to-dos before you need to put it into action. This, right at the beginning, might also be a good time to start your FAQ list, step 2. Don't worry at the start about putting in too many questions. You can always remove them later. If possible, find somebody else to work with. Maybe you've got a peer with similar responsibilities you can bounce ideas off. Or maybe you're a product manager on a team and you've got a business analyst on the team. Maybe the two of you could get together and bounce ideas off each other and talk about how you might phrase something and analyze the data together. Or it might be that you have a manager who can act as a coach, maybe someone who's done this before, and they can help you create your product goal. Take opportunities when they arise to show your drafts to other people and get more feedback. Step 3. Now you've got your draft, you want to do your homework, you want to talk to stakeholders, you want to get some data, and you want to get some feedback. Remember, when you think about your stakeholders, you have 3 rings of stakeholders in a similar way to have 3 rings of planning. The most outer ring is going to be your external customers. These are the people you are creating the product for. You're probably not going to show them your product goal or your whole press release, but you do want to get feedback. And sometimes you'll want to run experiments to see how they react and where they will put their money and what their actions are. Sometimes the feedback will be verbal, talking like I am now. Other times the feedback is going to come from little experiments you run. You want to be talking to these potential customers about the problems, the solutions that you might create, and the benefits they can get. You want to understand them as customers. These are people who will ultimately make or break your product when they decide to buy it or not to buy it. Of course, if you're building an internal product, your customers aren't going to have the choice to buy or not to buy. They're going to be internal users. Similarly, you may have users who are not internal to your company, but also have no choice but to use your product. For example, you might be creating a tax product which citizens must use to file a tax return. Since these people are captive, they will not be able to vote directly to buy or not buy your product, but they may still have the last word on whether your product is a success or not. Imagine you create a product which the users don't like and it doesn't deliver benefits to them, but they have to use it. With internal users, things aren't always so clear cut, but there are probably actually more ways in which you can fail. You might create a product that they have no choice but to use, but every time they use it, they curse it and they badmouth it. And over time, this reflects on you and your team. The product may be there, it may be fulfilling a need, but it may be doing so in a way that causes more problems. So your users or your external customers are the outer ring here. You also have internal stakeholders. Typically, company executives may be your boss, but also maybe your peers, particularly if they're peers you need to collaborate with. There may be people or teams you need to work with to bring your product to fruition. These people will also have views on the problems to be solved and the nature of solutions and the benefits to be realized. They will also be concerned about the resources being used, particularly costs. You can understand how executives are concerned about costs. They will be concerned about the expected benefits and the risks to the organization. All this is feedback. Some of this may be included in your product goal or in the FAQ. Their views on customers also need to be listened to. They may have insights or history that you don't find elsewhere. But these internal stakeholders can also be the source of problems. You may find an executive who holds a view of customer needs which is different to what you think it is. It may be your research is showing a different result to what they assume. Or your boss may envisage a solution which is different to the solution you are proposing. On occasions like this, you're going to need evidence and diplomacy to make sure you build the right product. However, these people will have legitimate concerns about your product strategy, and whether what you're doing supports the company strategy. Finally, and closest to you, is your own team, the people building the product. These people will also have insights and perhaps know some history which you might not get elsewhere. They are also the best people to help you craft a solution because they know the technologies and the tools and what they can do. Additionally, a key reason for listening to this group is to enroll them in your endeavor and help them understand what you know and help them share your vision of what you're building. You want everybody in the team to have a common shared vision. The motivation and understanding of these people will be key to delivering the best product possible. So your team deserve your time as well. With the team and internal stakeholders, it might just be a case of listening to what they have to say, making them think they've been fairly treated, showing respect for what they know and acknowledging their concerns goes a long way. Now, in step 4, you use what you learned in your stakeholder conversations to update your product goal. With all this feedback, you should be able to refine your product goal and add to your FAQ. all the questions you ask about the product are potential candidates for the FAQ. When your product goal has some maturity and you don't have so many to-do statements and so many question marks, then you're ready for step 5. However, remember, your homework never really finishes. Even though you're probably supporting the team and looking at the product as it's built out, you're still going to be thinking about your stakeholders. You're still going to be talking to them. You're still going to be getting feedback. Even after you've started selling your product and is in the hands of customers, you want to be finding out, did you meet the customer's needs? Did you meet your own goals? Have you delivered the benefits you set out to deliver? And there's 2 possibilities here. One is that you missed, and there's more work to do to recognize those benefits you are setting out to deliver. The other opportunity is you delivered the benefits, in which case there are going to be more opportunities to build on that product. You will have a good reputation with your customers and your users. And when they use your product, their world will change and there will be new opportunities in there, new opportunities for your product. So either way, you're going to be continually going back to your customers and your other stakeholders and saying, what is next? Step 5 is really quite easy. I'd like you to rewrite your product goal using the press release template. To my mind, the press release template or the press release format is a little more natural than Moore's template, and it's better at setting the context. It's better at communicating the message because it does allow for a little bit more emotion. Moore's template is quite, I don't want to say rigid, but it's very structured. The press release is also structured, but you have more liberty to play around with it. So go and rewrite your Moore statement as a press release and again, get some feedback on it from people. Finally, step 6. Step 6 is where you want to involve your whole build team. Your team should already have seen your work as you've been progressing. They'll have seen your Moore statement. They'll probably seen your FAQ. Maybe they'll have an early sight of your press release. But there comes a point where you want to say, this goal is frozen for a while. It's frozen for 6 months. It's frozen for a year. We may revisit it in the future, but right now we need to set about pursuing that goal and recognizing it. At this point, I suggest you talk it through with your build team. You get their understanding. And you get the build team to write their own fan mail around the product. My aim here is not just to add to the understanding of the product, but to give the team an opportunity to make their product their own, to get their voices into the product, and in so doing, enroll them in your endeavor. Step 6 brings us to the end of the process. As I said at the beginning, this is an example process. You need to think about how you can apply it and what you need to change. And actually, I'm going to slip in a step 7 here, because as I've hinted at already, you need to keep revisiting it. Are you talking to the right stakeholders? Are there new customers you should be talking to? Are people buying your product who you didn't anticipate buying it? Why are they buying it? Are there users in your organization who you missed the first time round? What problems are all these people, new customers, users, customers, what are the problems they are having with the product? And what new problems do they think about addressing now they've got the product? You're going to keep refining all your work. Remember, we've got the 3 layers there. We've got the product goal, which is going to be stable for a while, but each quarter we're going to be revisiting OKRs. And you're going to be informing every sprint, every 2 weeks. So talking to all these stakeholders, all these customers, is bringing that information in. So here we are. We've reached the end of the tutorial. Thank you very much. I hope you found it useful. I will send a survey out to get your feedback, but please feel free to drop me an email if you've got any particular feedback, or if you've got any questions, or you've got any suggestions for what else should be in here. Please remember, above all else, value of a product with an overarching goal to direct decisions is going to be greater than a product which is simply the sum of its parts.